So what can a 20th century steel company teach us about productivity and effectiveness in the 2020s? Greetings, Earthlings. I'm Dr. Will, and welcome to Dr. Will Presents. 102 years ago, that's 102 years ago, the president of Bethlehem Steel, Charles M. Schwab, not to be confused with the stockbroker Charles R. Schwab, was looking to improve the productivity and effectiveness of his management team. So he, under the recommendation of John D. Rockefeller Sr., he hired Ivy Lee, a productivity expert, to come in and help him. If you're interested in more content like this, please subscribe below. So this story is told by Mayo Ocean and James Clear, and among many others, because the Ivy Lee method that we're talking about today has become quite in vogue to help people become more productive in their day-to-day lives, in the business and everything. Ivy Lee came in and said that he would just like to spend 15 minutes with each of Bethlehem Steel's executives, and then after 3 months of practicing the method he was going to teach them, Charles Schwab could pay him whatever he felt it was worth. It was a pretty good deal, so Charles Schwab said, no problem, let's go ahead and do it. And Ivy Lee did. He spent 15 minutes with each of the executives. 3 months later, came back to see the results. So what was it that he taught them? Mayo Ocean's presentation of this, he presents 6 steps, and other people show 5 steps. The first step, or maybe the 0th step, according to Ocean, is to clearly define vision, mission, and goals in your life, your business, health. This makes lots of sense to me, because otherwise, how else would you prioritize? We'll go to that prioritizing step. If you don't have a clear definition of what your vision, goals, and objectives are, then what are you going to assess your performance against, or your priority of the various things that confront you? So the 5 main steps of the method. The first step is to write down the 6 most important tasks you have to accomplish the next day. The second step is to rank order those in priority order from most important to least important. So at the end of this step, you'll have your 6 tasks lined up in most to least important priority order. The next day in the morning, start with the first task on the list and work on it until you complete it. The key is not to go on to another task until you've completed the first task. So you work through the list from most to least important, one at a time. The 4th step then is, at the end of the day, if you haven't completed all of the tasks, the 6 tasks you'd set for the day, you move the incomplete tasks to the list for the next day. The 5th step is repeat those 4 steps every day. So how did this turn out for Ivy Lee and Bethlehem Steel? Well, 3 months after Ivy Lee had met with the executives of Bethlehem Steel, he came back and visited with Charles Schwab and to ask him how it went. And Charles Schwab wrote him a check for the current equivalent of about $400,000. And Schwab said it was some of the most important advice he had ever received. The productivity and effectiveness of his management team went through the roof. Bethlehem Steel became the 2nd largest steel manufacturer and the largest shipbuilder in the United States during the succeeding years. So why does it work? Well, it's simple, effective, and actionable. You may recognize that this is very similar to the concept of the one thing by Gary Keller. Work on the one thing that makes everything else easier or unnecessary, which is a great metric in itself. The 2 ideas collide as this idea of getting rid of the whole concept of multitasking and focusing on one thing, the most important thing. James Clear suggests that it is effective in part because it's simple enough to actually work. It forces you to make tough choices, that is, on what's important. It removes the friction of starting. It gets over what Robert Pirsig in the book Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance from back in the day called the gumption trap, falling into a mindset where you can't get started. So the nice thing about this is it just helps you get started. You just pick the task and go. Focuses and forces you to focus on single tasking. Notice that Ivy Lee wanted Bethlehem Steel's executives to use the method for 3 months before he was evaluated or before the method is evaluated. The reason is that it takes some time to adopt a new process, no matter how simple it is. Even as simple as this process it still takes some discipline to sit down at the end of each day and plunk down 6 things to do, 6 tasks that are your most important tasks to do for the next day. Over time, though, you'll learn to build a set of tasks that are the right size for the amount of time, workday or whatever it is that you're trying to focus on. It'll take some time to get the larger projects that you have that you're working on completed, and to really see the value of a method like this over a period of time. You need to complete some things, perhaps some things that you would not otherwise have completed, and you realize you wouldn't have completed had you not had this disciplined kind of approach. So that's it for the Ivy Lee method. It's very simple, it's easy to understand and learn to use, and I hope you give it a shot. Go ahead and send me a note or write something in the comments below to kind of launch this into a conversation. I'd rather this be a conversation between us and amongst us. I'll be here each week on Tuesday, so if you go ahead and subscribe below, and you'll be notified when the next episode drips out into the idea stream. Anyway, it's been great talking with you. Be careful out there. I'll be seeing you. Bye.